Welcome to the Painting of the Week podcast, where we look at some of the most significant paintings throughout history. Introducing your hosts, Phil Grabsky and Laura Bentham.
Well, hello. Welcome to our arts podcast. I'm Phil.
And I'm Laura.
And it's Laura's birthday.
Hey!
We were just discussing whether to mention it, but we have now, so
Yeah.
I don't think there'll be any repercussions, and we're not going to talk age.
No, let's definitely not do that.
But today we are going to talk about a painting by an artist called Eric Ravilious's. Now, and the painting is called, actually, is it Landscape from a Train? Or
Train, I've got Train Landscape.
Train Landscape, okay. Now, I guess it was 2015, so a few years ago, I was giving a talk about, it was like a weekend of lectures about art at a most fantastic place in Somerset called Dillington House. Dillington House is absolutely wonderful. I think every county in Britain certainly should have one of these houses, because they do weekend courses, weekday courses, afternoon courses. They get lecturers in. They do wonderful food. They've got fantastic accommodation.
Okay.
Really, really brilliant. And I've done a few there now about Afghanistan and about the history of documentary filmmaking and about art. Anyway, and I brought up to talk about, I guess he might have been talking about Goya. Anyway, I brought up a curator whose name is Xavier Bray. Xavier Bray was a curator at the National Gallery who spent many, many years putting on a wonderful exhibition about Goya. He then went to become the director of the Dulwich Art Gallery, and he is currently the director of the Wallace collection in London. Very, very nice man, very nice, amiable, and clearly highly intelligent.
Well, maybe we should get some of these people in.
Yeah,
like a guest.
Good idea. He'd be great. Anyway, when we were talking that weekend, he said to me, I'm just about to put on an exhibition, because I always ask for exhibition on screen.
Yeah.
What exhibitions are coming up? He said, we're about to do maybe the first proper exhibition of the works of Eric Ravilious's. And I said, who's that? Because I'd never heard of him.
No.
And
Clearly I wouldn't have done.
Well...
No, I didn't. I hadn't.
I think it's funny how some artists become well known, some don't. Over the last few days, everyone I've shown his paintings to, I would say the majority of people haven't known about him, but have absolutely loved his work.
Yeah.
And you wonder, I wonder why that is. What is it? Why does one artist become well known and another one doesn't? Anyway, it's certainly not for lack of quality in his case. I think these paintings are fantastic. Now, they obviously have a particular resonance for me because they are local. And these are exactly the landscapes that I go running and cycling and walking in, so I recognise them. And I personally think they're absolutely tremendous. It's an interesting story, and we'll come back to it during the podcast. But unfortunately, he died during the war. He was up in Iceland, actually, and a plane had gone out, hadn't come back. 3 planes went off to search for this, or even 4 planes went off to search for the missing plane. He jumped into one of those, maybe to do some sketches or some drawings, and that plane never returned. I think that was 1942, so it's quite sad. Anyway, of the many paintings of his, of landscapes, I think they're all watercolours, as far as I can remember. I've chosen this one.
Lovely. And it is lovely.
It is lovely. Had you ever seen this before?
No. Not ever. Not at all. Never. And to be fair, watercolour, I would have probably thought, not my cup of tea. Turns out Eric loved a cup of tea. So, yeah, he really did. So instantly I was, I'm in. Oh, well, that's good. Loves a cup of tea. But I think if you're brought up round here, or certainly within Sussex counties and countryside, it just takes you back to, I thought, funny enough, I thought it was a bit simple. I thought the paintings were just too simple. And then when I started to look at them, it was, I thought about it in my head so many times. I thought it's just going like round to your nan and granddad's, having a cup of tea and a bit of a hug. They're just really, really simple but lovely. Even in this painting initially, why are there no people in that carriage? Most people might have put somebody in, do you think? I don't know. Because you're going to say to me, where's your eye go, Laura, and all that.
No, but is it, I mean...
No, it doesn't,
I guess if you had somebody in it, I hadn't thought about that. I'm trying to think. Oh, he does do people, yeah. If he'd done... I mean, it would have... I guess you might have focused on that person and their story rather than the detail. We'll talk about the detail of the carriage and the landscape. One thing which I only discovered this week this is second-hand information, so I'm assuming it's true. We're talking about him and his South Coast of Britain paintings.
Yeah.
And there are many of them which are Lewis and, the Seven Sisters and so on and so forth. Actually, this horse, which I've seen, is in Wiltshire. It's not in Sussex.
No.
I think it's Westbury.
Yeah.
And so, funnily enough, after I'd suggested this to you last week, and I was thinking to myself, oh, yes, we can talk about the Sussex landscape. When I looked at it a bit more carefully, I thought, oh, no, actually, this isn't Sussex. But, funnily enough, and I only just discovered this, reading about this painting this week, they have discovered that originally the white horse wasn't the white horse. It's something that he and his wife cut and pasted on top of the previous kind of illustration there, which is the Great Man of Wilmington.
Oh, okay.
Now, the Great Man of Wilmington is just near Lewis. And in fact, I cycle past it, once a month. It's fantastic. And for some reason, I don't know why, originally he had the Great Man of Wilmington there, and then decided to put on the horse from Westbury and said, I don't know why that is, but that would suggest actually that those are the South Downs. And there's another painting that he does, which is still very clearly the Great Man of Wilmington, and it's very accurate.
But
it is a similar landscape.
He spent many times in Eastbourne.
Yeah.
Growing up, or having cups of tea.
Yeah.
Which I still love. But and that's exactly on that road, isn't it? Like you said, if you're cycling it, you're always on Downs.
It's a road that people might miss. The one that goes past the Great Man of Wilmington, because now they've got the bypass, which people will jump onto, but. The road obviously runs just underneath the Downs, and you get to there's a gate, and actually his painting, his painting of the Great Man of Wilmington is exactly from that gate. Right. And I was not that long ago, I stopped, I was cycling and took a picture, and it's exactly the same frame as him. And I like that. I like that kind of connection. I guess he did it. What are we talking? 80 years ago, 85 years ago, and of course, landscape. Well,
but he doesn't even. It's not like he even puts anything in. So many of his paintings, when I was looking at them, you probably would think, "Oh, I'll pop something in the corner, or I'll do," and they're not. They're just there's of one with a field and a pergola, I think, and you think, "Oh well." Instantly, you wouldn't think, "Oh, I'll paint that," but he has. He's just done it.
It's true. When I used to doodle at school, I was always putting stuff in. Like for me, I had to put a little castle on the top of the hill. And he's actually...
It's so lovely. They're just so simple. They are.
But I tell you what I like about Ravilio's, and I think this is true of all great artists, is that you could show me a painting that I've not seen before by Ravilio's, and I would say that's Ravilio's.
Yeah.
And I find that really interesting. In the same way that you could pretty much show me a Caravaggio or a Raphael or a Monet. I mean, I now think I could tell the difference between the Impressionists. So if I saw a painting, I'd say, no, that's a Renoir or that's a Degas. That singular signature of an artist, I think, is part of what creates that sense of an artist being great.
Yeah.
Something about the work of Ravilio's, if you look at the body of work, obviously there are exceptions and there might be etchings or drawings which don't quite fit this, but these types of paintings, the kind of the colourful landscapes, I don't know any other artist. Well, actually I say that, there's an artist working today who has a kind of a similar, actually even her colours are bolder.
But he didn't like the sunlight much.
Oh, is that right?
He really did not like it much. So he preferred working on a sort of a winter, cloudy day, morning if possible.
Okay.
Which is what I was coming across, yeah.
That's interesting, because this is quite pale, isn't it? In fact, there's just that little bit of light. Well, maybe that top left, just a little bit of light coming in.
Yeah, so, but that, I would never, obviously I can't tell the difference between all those paintings. I think people have probably gathered that over the last few months. But I must admit, when you told me to look at this painting, now I think I could. And he does those wood engravings, which are lovely, black and white, really detailed, almost like tattoos.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, he's clear. I mean, this is...
Yeah, it's lovely.
Again, you might look at it at first glance and think, oh, it's actually, relatively, I was going to say not pedestrian, but not too complicated. Actually, it's one of those paintings, again, you stop and look and think, oh, well, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Look at the detail. I mean,
Yes.
I've been in carriages like this. I'm sure we all have.
Yeah.
And you can see around the door that little bit of trim there, which was to keep the wind out.
Yeah.
And then that strap, you might think, what's the strap for? Well, the strap's because you need something to hold on. You can't lean out.
No.
So when you open the door, you'd hold on to the strap. And what I love about this, okay, the big number 3, third class.
Yes.
Now, this does predate me, because in my time, when we had these carriages, these 6-person carriages, you had first class and second class. So I've never known a third class. But of course, at this time, there was a third class. And it actually looks quite comfortable. I mean,
It does.
Not that different to... I think the only difference probably was that in first class, you didn't have the type of passenger that would travel in third class sitting in it. But it looks absolutely fine. In fact, I did read that in the war, he was travelling and quite happy to travel third class. But word got round that some other, was he an officer? Why would this be? Some others were travelling first class, and in the end they sent a memo saying we better let Ravilio'S travel first class because others are. Anyway, 3 stands for third class. Actually looks fairly comfortable, but again, if you look a little bit, that seat on the right, that's deliberate. That front line isn't straight. It means it's starting to sag.
Yeah.
And again, if you've ever sat on one of those old seats where the springs are going, and then, the strap is...
Strap's worn.
Worn and bent and curved. It does start to look a little bit tatty, doesn't it? Some of the varnish.
It's nice looking, though.
It is very comfortable. I mean, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Any day of the week, I
Yes.
take this over a Thameslink train now.
Exactly.
Those new trains that they bought, which they made such a fuss about, they are the cheapest seats. I don't know a seat.
No.
You take off the material, underneath there must be like a plank of plywood.
Yeah.
They are awful.
No,
People have it's so much, so lax in respect for the passenger, the current trains.
And that train is going from London to Cornwall, isn't it?
Well,
That one.
okay, so
Oh no, because you still think that's not.
It's fake because there's no railway.
No more, not fake news again.
Fake news.
Oh, come on.
I'm going to disabuse you of any such Well, if it's
So I've done well this week.
but if it is the great man of Wilmington, or is it the long man? Ooh,
Oh, no, long.
is it long man of Wilmington?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Not the great man.
Oh, no, don't, because now you questioned it. I'm now worrying.
Oh, well, it's
Okay, I'm pretty sure it's long.
Something man of Wilmington.
Yeah.
He is quite long.
He is very...
Do you know, during the war, the white lines, they painted them green so that German aircraft wouldn't use it as a point of reference.
Right, let's get rid of them.
And they're not actually white lines, they're blocks of concrete, which just look white from a distance. Anyway.
Okay, back to fake news.
If it is the long man of Wilmington, then the nearest railway is actually it's actually underneath Mount Caburn, isn't it? So
that, yeah.
well,
Would you?
I don't know that you would. And Westbury, I don't know. I mean, Westbury, there obviously is a railway out there, but I mean,
Have you actually seen that horse?
yeah.
Is it like that? Because
Yeah,
I was looking at some of the photos, and there was quite a lot of different ones, and it didn't really look like that.
Oh no, actually, the one that I've seen, the legs are different. They're kind of. It's actually the most fantastic bit of drawing art. There's like these lines, and then you look at it and you think it's a horse, but then you look more carefully.
Maybe next time we do a podcast, we actually need to go on set.
Yeah, that's true.
Sit there and...
In that case,
Yeah,
we need to think quite carefully what we choose.
I don't know. I think I'm going to think on.
Somewhere sunny. South of France.
I know exactly now where we're going next time.
Nice, somewhere like that. Provence. Thank you.
Yeah, because this one's hanging in Aberdeen, I think, isn't it? So.
Oh, is it not in Eastbourne?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I thought
it was in Aberdeen. So there we go.
Oh, maybe. Okay.
We're contradicting each other now.
Oh, maybe.
Okay.
The Towner Gallery.
Oh, that's in Eastbourne.
Oh, that's probably just a print then, isn't it? Okay.
Right.
Oh, yeah, it's in Aberdeen, is it? Okay.
Well, I love Scotland, so I'm happy to go there. But maybe not quite nice, is it?
Well, Scotland, I mean, I'm going off on a tangent, but the National Gallery of Scotland is fantastic.
Oh, well,
one of our Leonardos that we filmed for Leonardo the Works was there, and it's I mean, it's not really given the position it deserves, actually, if I'm honest. But they've got some stunning paintings in there, and it's again one of those wonderful British museums that's free to enter.
Yeah. Okay. On set then, next time.
So an interesting choice, and I think he didn't he do. He does one of a train from the landscape, doesn't he? She's just reversed it.
Yeah.
I think this is where I start to read things in from the biography. So he gets married, he's working as an artist, and he's travelling the country. So he's just in trains all the time.
Yeah.
And his family are down in the south. I think they're in Kent briefly, aren't they? But then they're in Eastbourne, and but then he's having to travel across Britain for various reasons. And then, of course, well, if you went up to, I mean, particularly when the war started, he must have been going here, there, and everywhere. So trains were really absolutely essential.
Yeah.
And of course, there's a nostalgia for us too, isn't there, with trains?
Oh, no, absolutely.
I mean, look at those blinds.
Yeah. I was getting on the Bluebell Railway.
Yeah.
When we were younger, the steam train.
Loved it.
Oh, yeah.
Loved it.
Took the children there. Santa.
So I was going to say Santa. Wasn't that the best thing ever?
No.
That was like one of the best. I've got a great picture of Ella on the train with Santa coming down the corridor.
That's why it was such a lovely painting when you picked it. And definitely initially I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to know anything about Eric. Soon as you get involved.
I wonder if some people then would find it a bit over nostalgic and a bit not quite meaty enough.
But then they might then think to themselves, well, I'll go to my own local artists and find one. Because I didn't think it would be something I would have really gone for. And then I just thought about my grandparents and how lovely they were. And there's that one painting, Tea at Furlongs, which is just... they've got those dodgy old tables out and a funny chair and everything. And it used to be so lovely.
It's funny, isn't it? Again, particular resonance for us, but when you look at them, it's like flooding in Lewes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's so many on the road that goes down over the Seven Sisters. Well, I've cycled that and I've run that. And then there's just so many where you think, oh, yeah, okay, that's...
Well, the Seven Sisters was almost no more last year. You could hardly see the bends.
They had a huge loss, didn't they?
Yeah.
Recently? Big crack. And I do wonder about the horse. I wonder why he put anything in it at all. I'll tell you why I think he might have done. Because if you don't have it, it's quite flat, actually. Put your hand over it and it's just a flat...
It's a bit in keeping with all your other paintings that you've said, though, because your eye instantly goes to the horse,
Definitely
to the left.
So you go straight through the window, don't you?
Yeah.
Actually, if you cover it up...
Yeah. What are you going to look at?
Actually, you know where your eye goes? Funnily enough, the next white thing, which is the 3.
Yeah, definitely.
And actually, you're not really drawn outside the window, are you? You almost stay inside. That's quite interesting, isn't it? My eye doesn't really drift outside so much. That's almost secondary. But now, you go out... And then
I thought you picked the painting on purpose for that.
No.
Where's your eye go first, Laura?
Where's your eye go first?
Horse. Although I am drawn to the cushion at the bottom, where, like you said, it's third class and it's the only bit that looks... I mean, those seats look okay.
Yeah,
like you said that's the only bit that looks slightly worn. But
I'm sure they were a lot muckier in their time.
yeah. It's like I said to you, though, isn't it? It was just so simple and, there's no... Because really, you wouldn't sit where he's sitting. You would sit by the window, wouldn't you?
See, my memory of it, so I don't think he's sitting down at all.
Okay.
I think, because if you remember, there was a corridor that runs along the other side and a door. Harry Potter.
Yes.
For some of our listeners, that would be their only understanding of what we're talking about.
Let's get into Harry Potter.
So in a sense, actually, it's not real because he's not looking through the door.
No.
He's almost looking through the window that would have been there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is clearly he's not... He may have done a sketch on a train.
Yeah.
And he's not doing it... He's not sitting down because the angles are all wrong. Mm-hmm. And then you think, obviously you can't stand up on a train. And so, I mean, he might have sketched it while he was on the train and then he's obviously created this in his studio.
For some reason, you would think the third class would be packed. I don't know why I'm thinking that. So, yeah, might have got rid of a few people out there.
It's funny why they got the big 3 on the inside.
Yeah.
Maybe that's when they had the doors open, but I'm sure they had it on the outside of the carriage. Maybe as you were walking down the corridors, told you what the carriage was.
I don't even have that on the Bluebell.
No, I've never seen a 3.
No, I've never seen a 3.
Although, well, on an Indian train I have.
Oh.
990, I guess it's just the name of the carriage.
Yeah.
And you still see people, don't you, at Clapham Junction with their notebooks, writing down every carriage, every train that comes through.
Definitely.
Train spotters.
There's everything spotters, isn't there? Huh? Is it Eddie Stobart spotters?
There are.
And I love that.
The trucking, I know.
Yeah.
It's mad. It's just
I only found that out, well, it was obviously a few years ago now, but it used to make me laugh. I was like, how exciting. I get excited about everything, though. So.
Do you remember as a kid, you used to play, you had to get, as you're driving, you had to get every letter of first letter of every licence plate, you had to get it from A to Z.
Right.
Obviously never played that game.
No.
The other thing about this painting, which is...
We did used to sing, though. That makes you feel better. My mum and dad used to make... We had a little escort van, and it was quite good because we used to get really good acoustics in there, so we did used to sing a bit of opera.
Oh, right.
Which I won't do for you now, obviously, but we did. So, no, we didn't do the registration. But my mum used to do that for sure.
There was no singing in my car.
I had this really... seat that they strapped in, obviously illegal now. Yeah, so the old escort van. It was good fun.
Strapped into the
back? They strapped it into the sort of back in between the two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was totally strapped
Facing
in.
backwards?
No.
Facing forwards?
Yeah. But it wasn't safe. No.
You'd have been straight through the window.
Yeah, I know. I think they might have strapped me in a bit. I think I had some kind of reins on, which was then attached to it in some way.
We should just cut you in
half. Yeah. It's a good job I'm still here, Phil.
Top half would have gone.
Yeah.
My dad actually had a car which was like a Humber, and the front seat was like this. It was like a bench.
Oh no, that's brilliant.
I know, it was like green leather, and it was all wood. And yeah, you'd sit on this. It was like you imagine taking a section out of the House of Commons, one of those benches.
Yeah.
That's how it was. Yeah.
See, if Eric was around then, he would have painted that.
Yeah, he would.
With literally nothing in it.
He'd have driven it, probably.
Yes.
The other thing about this, which I like, which I don't know if it's just me or whether other people do it too, but I just hear sounds. So that lock on the door, again, if you've never been in one of these trains, you wouldn't necessarily know what that was. I recognise it instantly. It's the locking mechanism. When you would pull it to the right, it's quite chunky, obviously, because the doors you have to feel them to get them open, and you definitely have to feel them when they shut, because you don't want a door flinging open.
No.
But I can hear that clunk.
Yeah.
And then I can hear the sound of the train, and this would have been a steam train, of course, and the metal on wheels, the metal wheels on tracks. And even things like the blinds coming down, and I don't know,
bit of chit-chat in the background.
Yeah.
No one on phones.
Nobody on phones.
No.
People actually talked.
Yes.
Well, I started commuting from London in, 1990s. We still had these types of trains, and people used to get into a carriage, not always, of course, but people actually would talk to each other.
Yeah.
And there used to be some carriages, I mean, commuting. I remember one carriage going up from Brighton, which was the French language carriage.
Amazing.
And the 6 people would go in there every morning, and they'd speak French. Then you had the bar.
That was the best bit.
Which, I mean, Friday nights in there was
yes.
gay abandon.
Yeah.
I
know a lot of people's stories of that bar.
Yeah.
We could get them as guests if you want one time.
Now you don't even. I mean, they've even got rid of the wagon that goes through.
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
The romance is gone. So Ravilious's now. When Xavier Bray put on his exhibition in 2015 at the Dulwich, it was actually very successful. And probably now, if I was offered a Ravilious's exhibition, I would think quite seriously about doing an exhibition on screen about him. Because, I mean, I think there is enough biography, and there is enough artwork. And we can't always make films just about people that... You can't always be Van Gogh and Monet, and we need to broaden it out. The trouble is, if people don't come to the cinema because they don't know the name,
yes,
I can't make films that nobody comes to, because then we go out of business.
But the wood engravings, they're quite modern looking, actually.
Yeah,
I really love them. So
very skilled to do that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But somebody that I run with, he mentioned another artist, maybe we could look at another time, called, Kunio?
All right, okay. I was going to say, please let me know him and make a change.
I shall actually look him up.
Okay.
But another British artist, and he's again, you think, I've never seen this guy. He, let me just find him. He did things like Clapham Junction and steam trains and...
Okay. So sounds familiar.
I mean, he's kind of painting, I think, at a similar kind of time.
Because wasn't Ravilious's, one of his things was people weren't taking him serious as an artist. They sort of said he was a bit more of a craft artist, because of his wood engravings. So, and then he obviously got commissioned the war artist. So he did eventually get taken a bit seriously.
Yeah,
I really, really love those. I actually really love those wood engravings. I was really taken with them. So
here we go, Terence Kunio.
Obviously, I haven't heard of him.
No, I'd never heard of him. No.
Oh, good.
And this is one of those moments where somebody was saying to me, what do you think of Terence Kunio? I said, Kunio, and I said, who?
Yeah. Okay, good.
But he lived 1907 to 1996.
Oh, right.
And again, I mean, he's painting war scenes from the first... No, it can't be the First World War, Second World War, and steam trains. And
so a similar period, but look how much more...
Yeah. Just look at the style of them. Sorry, for those that are listening,
yeah,
you're going to have to look it up for yourself because obviously we can't really. I suppose we might be able to post one on the podcast, but
well, hopefully that's where the podcast will take you onto something else.
But I was going to suggest. Look, it looks like the London to Brighton rally.
Oh, what, the old Crocs? No.
Yeah, the old.
Oh, really? Okay.
But look at these steam trains.
And now there's going to be an electric car one.
Yeah. Well, we know the guy in charge of the PR,
we do.
So we've just done him a favour.
We have. That's right. He's lovely, so that's good. But that's actually really funny, isn't it, the old Crocs?
Anyway, so Terence Kunio is somebody we can talk about now. So he's also painting during the Second World War.
But look at the details on his paintings compared to Ravilious's then.
Yeah.
Now he has really...
completely different, isn't it?
Some things going on.
I mean, this is that I'm just looking at a invasion scene in the Far East. I'm afraid I don't know enough about him to know if he was actually there.
And obviously I'll just be getting my coloured pens out all week. Yes.
Well, isn't that fun when you hear about somebody new?
How much have I learned?
You hear about somebody
since
new,
we've been doing this?
And then you kind of go and have a look. You kind of look him up. And Clapham Junction, that's a great painting. So full of detail. And I don't know, as it happens, I'm going there tomorrow. It's quite recent history, isn't it?
Yeah.
When I'm doing, right now we're researching projects about Camille Pissarro and Caravaggio, but of course that feels, Pissarro less so obviously, but that feels back in history. Whereas someone like Ravilious's, we could go out now and see exactly what he saw.
Oh yeah. If you walk the South Downs Way, you probably cycle, I walk.
Yeah.
I did not realise quite how lovely they were. The path is the South Downs Way. Because, normally you just stop off at sort of the main stopping point for the car park, walk a little bit out of the way, come back and have an ice cream or a drink. But actually, if you do walk it, those middle bits, you do feel like you actually are, in the middle of nowhere sometimes, which is really lovely.
Yeah.
His paintings I really love them.
It's extraordinary, actually, more from running than cycling, but how quickly you can get away from roads and houses and into quiet. There was a section not far from here where I went running recently where I thought it was in Scotland. It was like undulating. There was pine forests, or, it's pine plantation, and streams and little lakes. I think, sometimes on the South Downs, you are aware of how deforested it is.
Yeah.
But again, I think for an artist, and you can see it in this painting, that actually is quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
That kind of sweeping. I just think, again, when you start looking at it, just that little bit of darker green to show an indentation here and a furrow there. Over here, underneath the horse, that's just a line of trees.
Yeah. And if you were walking the South Downs Way, it's probably where you would walk.
Exactly, it's a path. And there's a million years I couldn't paint that.
No.
And you look down at the fields, which are all squared off. Brilliantly done. It's so clever. Totally.
If you fly into Gatwick, actually, it is one of those, like green and pleasant land.
Oh, yeah.
You do always think it. And then
every time.
And then you get off the flight, it's freezing and pouring, and you're like, oh.
You're waiting in the queue for
get back off on holidays again.
The one customs official.
Yeah.
700 people just got off a plane.
Yeah, you just didn't take long.
No.
Didn't get over that feeling. Anyway.
But I do think just on the sense of perspective is really clever.
Yeah, it is. It's lovely.
Because again, if it'd been me, you see this right-hand side. See, I'd have had that chair going right to left.
Yeah.
But actually, of course, he's actually correct, isn't it? He's got it straight, and the one on the other side is going left to right. Then you look into the painting. You've got the fence there, which matches the line there. Mm-hmm. But the actual line of the fields, again, my natural inclination would have been to have done lines going towards the hills. He's done it across, horizontal.
Yeah. And still, most people would have made it a bit more busy.
And busy, like
it's just so simple.
There's
but
no
so
farmer,
lovely.
there's no tractor, there's nothing, is there?
And honestly, when you look at his other paintings, I just think someone would have put something else in, and he hasn't.
Maybe that's why he took the man out, because even though it's an engraved, it's not a real man. Maybe it's still. He just felt that the horse somehow reflected the nature he wanted to present, rather than an image of a human being.
But on a train as well, he's a bit more solid. The man, he's a bit long. He's just lines, isn't he?
Well, and it's vertical again, so it's vertical with the window.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, he must have sat and looked, thought, you know what?
Yeah.
That doesn't work.
No, let's stick a horse in.
I need something that's more horizontal, it's got more curves to it.
There's me saying he's all simple, but he's actually thought about loads.
Oh, he must have. Yeah. Well, the other thing that's really clever, is the reflection on the glass.
Oh, yeah.
So that's, you look there,
yes.
the middle window.
Yeah.
That little bit of grey, that is so brilliantly done, because it's totally credible.
Yeah.
Well, to me, at least, that is the glass reflecting. I don't think that is chalk showing through on the window, on the...
No,
I'm sure it's not. I'm sure all these little patches of grey are the window, and over here, all three windows. It's brilliant. Yep. Love it. I'd have that on my wall.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So far, I'd have them all on my wall. I come into every podcast thinking, no. And then by the end of it, I'm like, yes. For sure. Yeah. So.
I might have sold one or two of them by now, just to pay off the mortgage. I wouldn't have kept them all.
No.
I have no idea I wonder what the what a Ravilious's painting goes for. I don't know.
I don't know.
I would imagine it's the hundreds of thousands rather than the tens of millions, but I really don't know.
Well, when I was looking, there's loads of prints.
Yeah.
He's quite commercial almost. And I just didn't, like I said to you, none of my friends had heard of him either.
Well, so I think we've changed that.
Oh, yeah.
The podcast will have, in fact, we should do is we should buy shareholdings in these artists before we, because obviously our podcast.
Oh, it's going to totally change everything.
Transforms the market for them.
Completely.
If there's any artist out there that would like to, no, actually I can't even suggest that.
I don't know I don't know. They could go either way, depending. Depending how we go.
The bottom falls out of the market. Actually, the way in which artists, I guess it's understandable, and galleries try to protect, manipulate, inflate the price of their artist paintings or their own paintings is really interesting. And there's all sorts of, nothing's new. Paul Durand-Ruel was doing this with his Impressionist paintings, getting someone in the audience to bid against him.
Okay, yeah.
Making sure that it never went below a certain price. So there'd be somebody out in the auction that would be sanctioned to pay a certain amount, just keeping the value up.
Well, that would be a good documentary.
Oh, all these kind of things go on, obviously, because because ultimately, how do you value a painting? Why is one painting? Why is it? Someone just found a Van Gogh. I was reading about it today. I was claiming to have found a Van Gogh. Well, what's that? $100 million? I don't know. But it's worth what someone's willing to pay for it. And it's like this new digital art. That stuff's worthless, really. But people are willing to pay millions and millions of dollars. I think one went for $90 million.
Right.
So it's all about manipulating the market so that somebody basically with too much money, or so much money that they can afford to do this kind of thing, thinks it's a reasonable investment. But it's, that's a really.
Maybe we should just have a go at digital art later.
Well,
it's my birthday.
Okay, let's go
See
and do
what
it.
we can do.
Right. That's it for us. Let's go and do some digital art and sell it for 90 million.
Another cup of tea for
and
Eric.
a cup of tea for Eric.
Oh,
nice one.
yes.
Thank you for listening to the Painting of the Week podcast. For more information, please visit our website at seventh-art.com or contact us by emailing info@seventh-art.com. See you next time.